Hello.
Hi, in this video we will talk about one of testing documentation, it's checklists.
Yeah, checklists. You remember the general rule is that checklist is a set of ideas for future test cases. And if checklists are like a draft version of future appropriate testing documentation, you can write them as you want. On a sheet of paper, on Word file, maybe Excel file you like it more. It can be Google document. It can be even paper napkin or something like that. So do whatever you want, because this is only ideas and you will transform them into appropriate testing documentation test cases. Still, there is one assumption.
Yeah, so on real project, we can use checklist as a separate and only one testing documentation on the project. So this checklist is the official testing documentation which we can use for testing our application. In this case, it's should follow all the rules which we discussed in our previous video. And now we would like to show you example how to create such checklists. And for this, we will use the form, hope you remember it, from our previous sprint about requirements analysis. But here we can use it for creation of our checklist. To show you the form, the picture, and also here our requirements. As you remember, we have several input fields on our form. Here we have some checkbox and some links and also next button. And usually we see a lot of examples that our colleagues, students create a checklist in the way like creation account by filling all fields with valid data. What's wrong with this checklist, with this check, we will show you today.
Yeah, again, if that's like an idea, that's absolutely great. So, okay, we should fill all the fields with valid data and then something will happen. But if it's the only testing documentation and I'm as newcomer, I see this check, so I have no idea what does it mean, all the fields.
What I should
Maybe
do with this, yes.
yeah, maybe when I'm looking at the form and I'm going to check this form, my developers have forgotten to add some fields, and still I do not know. I see all the fields, and this bug will be missed by me.
Absolutely, yes. And before we start, we should explain two assumptions. We should add two assumptions. First of all, we will show you how create one verification, but this is like example. This is not the only one correct way to create checklist. So you can formulate the phrase whatever you want. So maybe your English is better than mine, for example, but maybe your imagination is better. But
Maybe your
so,
project requires
wow,
another formulations
yeah,
and so on.
absolutely. But we would like to pay your attention what information should be included, why, and how to organize it maybe.
Yeah, one more important assumption is that we are going to concentrate your attention to focus on functional testing. You know that functional testing is not the only type. Of course, there are a lot of non-functional types of testing, such as GUI testing, maybe usability testing, and so on so far. But still remember that functional testing, functional type, functional ideas for testing, like the most complicated ones and the most useful for the quality of the project.
Absolutely. And also, usually we should start like from the most important and the first check which should be done. And usually it's a positive verification of all fields. So we should fill all fields together and press the button definitely because we are functional testers. So we should perform function testing. This means so we should perform testing of the whole form. All fields should be filled in and we should click on the next button to see the results.
Yeah, we are not checking like separate fields. Still, we are checking the full web form. So we are
Yeah,
checking creation of an account.
absolutely. So here we have like this one common phrase. It's okay to start checklist from it. So creation account by filling all fields with valid data. We show that the whole meaning of our this check. But as Ludmila already mentioned, that what does it mean on fields? This not prevent us from the bugs in the future. So we should explain and we should listen all the fields. So we can copy from requirements. It's not a problem, but for sure not fully. All just needed information we need. So just a second. Live demo. Okay. Okay, so all fields are mentioned. Now every tester will know what fields should form include and what should be verified here. Never miss this. The next one, we mentioned here all fields, so I think here we can skip this. We can add all input fields. If we have checkbox, it should be covered separately, but here today, now we can concentrate only on input fields. Is it enough information? No, here we have the second part, this with valid data. But what does it mean? Remember, you are just coming to the project where you should find this information in the requirements. But have you ever heard that testers verify the application opening requirements? No.
Yeah,
So
maybe if you are a newcomer, an absolute newcomer, maybe some systems will be blocked for you. Maybe you do not have some permission, you do not have access to some of the documents. So it's just an easy way to provide you with access to test documentation, and still maybe you do not have the access to the requirements. So full information should be provided in checklists if they're
yeah.
used for testing.
And also here maybe all important things to add that when we are using our testing documentation, we're not just reading it. It's not like a poem or something to read. We use it to verify our application. So our focus should be on our application, not on testing documentation, not to on the way where I found some information or what. No. So all information should be in one place. So here from the requirements we need to add this information. So if we are talking about input fields, we should verify two parameters and they can't be skipped or miss one of these parameters. Input field should always have the length and what we can input here. Here, let's go field by field. In the first name field, we can input letters and numbers. So I copy paste this not to spend time. And also length. Here we have 550. So I think this information is enough and quite clear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For now, you have the title of the field, and you know that you can input letters, numbers, and how many letters and numbers. So you do not have to go to any another place. Yeah, you've got all the information you need to start testing and to perform this like the first positive check.
Absolutely. Also, please pay attention that username should be in with this adding gmail.com. Here it's already added, but in some application where emails should be added, you also not just should add that should verify that only letters numbers can be added, but in a special format. For password, we have this.
Yeah, also
Mhm.
you can see that in this example provided here for you, you've got mostly text fields. Still, sometimes on the web forms, you've got the possibility, the feature of adding images or maybe some files, documents. Do not still remember that you should also to check format of these files that can be added and also the size of such files.
Yeah, absolutely. I added this information about password, and also pay attention that in confirm input field we have this information for sure, but the main thing here that this should be the same with the password. So I just read the same as a password. I think it's quite clear.
Yes,
Okay.
still sometimes it is strictly required. Do not forget that full functional checks are performed not only after you're filling all the fields, but very important moment can be missed is clicking the button and checking like final validation of the form.
Yeah. Usually on modern application, on modern websites, this validation performs just you enter something in the input field, you can see the warning message or adding incorrect picture is impossible, but sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, so do not be calm and sure that if you see error message, okay, that works, my negative test is passed, because at my project, I've got an example that is very like showing for this validation like at once. We've got a feature of adding images, we've got two valid formats, and when I was trying to add like invalid image or with invalid format, uh, beautiful red error message appears. It was informal enough. Yeah, for me, I was sure. So this is wrong format. You cannot add this kind of picture. But when I try to click save button, like a miracle happens, and despite error message, the picture, the image was added. So, okay, you've got error message and still it can hide a bug from you. So do not rely on completely on this like UI validation, maybe error message. Still try to perform full functional check. Click the button. Do not trust anyone. You are a tester.
Yes, absolutely. We are functional testers, not only because of this, because we should verify fully the whole application, their functions, features, that's all. And while Ludmila tell you this interesting story, I added also some formatting. You see, I make the first this common phrase in bold and change all this name of fields with italic, but it's also like you want. But I recommend you to add some formatting that your eye can like see some the most important things.
Yeah, it change perception of your documentation drastically. It's much easier, more comfortable, more convenient to use the testing documentation that was formatted this way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I believe that you see now the difference between the first phrase, quite common, maybe the meaning is the same, but here we have enough clear and full information to perform this check. And if we are talking about adding negative verifications, so the also good point here that we have like this common our good like
Cycle.
example of our first check, and we can copy paste. It's a good idea to copy paste in your using copy paste in your testing documentation. It's not forbidden actually. Don't copy paste just from the same phrases from requirements. You can rework them, but when you create something good and beautiful in your checklist, in your documentation, just copy paste it. And if we are talking, I'm sorry. If we are talking the negative checks, what here should be mentioned? Just please watch our previous video about common rules. But here we can what can be changed? What should
be changed maybe, yeah?
Yeah. So this phrase can be stand by, but also you can change it on the following. In checklist, it's also possible to add like exception, like expected results. Absolutely. So now here we have warning message for example. And the following, yes. And also here it's important to add what warning message. Here should be a text, and here, for example, we add like special characters, which forbidden to add, but the length is correct. And all other fields should be filled with correct data, and also not to forget about clicking on next button. Then we should verify incorrect length and go to the next field, but this is a good idea for one of the next videos.
Yeah. So we hope that these approaches to writing down checklists were useful for you, and still we have a lot of interesting information for you about test cases. So stay with us and see our next video.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.